How do we know the weather? You will be able to explain a weather report by learning about the jobs and tools that are needed to predict the weather. A meteorologist or weather person is a scientist who uses tools to study patterns in weather. Patterns are something that happens again and again in the same order. The weather patterns help meteorologists predict weather that is coming. When meteorologists predict the weather, they are saying what they think will happen in the future. Meteorologists can predict the weather and warn us when a storm may be coming. Think about it. Who do you think can be a meteorologist? What do meteorologists do?
It's another day at the Discovery Science Alliance Academy, an elite academy where recruits learn to think things through, examine the data, apply the tools, master the skills to become a team called the Discovery Science Alliance. Before you can solve mysteries, you've got to master the skills. Do you have what it takes?
Yes! I'm so ready.
I'm so ready.
I am so ready. Let's go!
Today we have a special guest. Please welcome a meteorologist. Wait a minute. What is a meteorologist?
I think a meteorologist is someone who studies weather. Somebody that tells you what the weather is and predicts what the weather is.
Nice predictions. Meteorologists are scientists who study the weather. They look for patterns and clues. Some meteorologists look for clues in the field, like these meteorologists studying tornadoes. Some meteorologists look for clues by studying data or computer models, like this meteorologist. They examine evidence, like data from years and years ago, as well as current conditions, to make predictions about what the weather will be in the future. This is called forecasting the weather. Only some meteorologists get to go on TV. But no matter what kind of meteorologist they are, a lot of people depend on these super cool scientists' weather forecasts or predictions of what they think the weather will be like in the future. Hey recruits, what do you think? Would you like to be a meteorologist someday? Why or why not?
Meteorologists use many tools to help them measure different things so that they can predict the weather. When scientists measure something, they find out the size, weight, speed, or amount of that something. Meteorologists use maps and computers to see where the weather is located. Meteorologists often use thermometers to measure the temperature. Temperature is the degree of heat or cold in something. Meteorologists also use radar. Radar is a tool that makes pictures of what is inside the clouds. The meteorologist will then study these pictures. Satellites are another tool that meteorologists use to predict weather. A satellite is a machine that circles our Earth. It gathers information for scientists to study. Think about it. What other tools could a meteorologist use to study the weather? Let's find out.
It's another day at the Discovery Science Alliance Academy.
an elite academy where recruits learn to think things through, examine the data, apply the tools, master the skills to become a team. Call the Discovery Science Alliance. Before you can solve mysteries, you've got to learn to apply the tools. Do you have what it takes?
Yeah, I'm so excited. Let's go.
Phew, class, I bet you guys are tired of all this rain. That's a lot of water on the ground.
We had over an inch of rain overnight and more on the way. More weather after this.
Hey, recruits, there was over an inch of rain last night. But how did he know? What do you think? How do you measure rainfall? Those are really good ideas, recruits. Meteorologists are scientists who study and communicate the weather. From tracking dangerous tornadoes to predicting daily weather, we all rely on meteorologists' predictions. They make those predictions based on data they collect using all kinds of cool tools. One of those tools is a rain gauge, which they use to measure rainfall. Want to try and make this neat tool and learn to use it?
I heard it's going to rain tomorrow, and I want to know how much it's going to rain. How can I figure that out?
Something to catch the rain and then we can measure it.
Or you could just put a cup outside and see how much it rains.
Well, those are really good ideas. We're actually going to be building our own rain gauge, and then we're going to be able to take it outside. We're going to add a little bit of rocks. We're going to pour some water.
Stop. Okay, that's good.
Okay, I think those look great. So you're going to draw a line first at the water line. We're going to label, we're going to draw, and we're going to measure at each mark. Okay, so this is a 0 line. 1 and 2. And then do the same thing in centimeters.
It's okay, we got it done.
2, 3, 4.
Safety stop. Never try to collect storm data outside when there is lightning.
So now we're going to measure how much it rained yesterday. So you guys got to get kind of eye level like this. Get like this. See how it has a curve? You're measuring at the lowest part of the curve. That's where your measurement's going to be.
It looks like it's almost about 4 centimeters. I agree.
So it looks like it's about 4 centimeters there. And then in inches, it looks like in inches, it's about an inch and a half.
That's your cue, recruits. What do you think? How much rain do you predict will fall where you live?
It is important for meteorologists to use many different tools so they can predict the weather. If we know a storm is coming, we can do things to get ready for it. What other things are helpful for a meteorologist to tell us? Why are those things important?
Okay, Discovery Science Alliance, this mystery is all about being prepared. Are you ready? Meteorologists on the news have been predicting Hurricane Bernardo for a few days now. Aunt Jenna, Uncle Julius, their dog Teddy, and their neighborhood are right in the predicted path of the storm. Aunt Jenna, Uncle Julius, and their neighbors need to prepare for the storm. But how? Discovery Science Alliance.
Preparing for dangerous weather? Now that's a problem. We'll need to collect some data and examine the facts. How the facts fit together to solve the problem.
Discovery Science Alliance, today's mission: How do you prepare for bad weather? Let's find out more about emergency kits to help Aunt Jenna, Uncle Julius, their dog Teddy, and their community prepare for the storm. In an emergency, you never know what will happen. This means you've got to think ahead and prepare. Often, big storms cause trees to fall on power lines, making the electricity go out. Without electricity, water might not be purified, so the water might not be safe to drink.
What other predictions do you have that might happen during a storm?
It could take a long time until the power comes back on.
You could not have any food. The fridge might not work and your food might spoil.
Your heat and your stove might not work. Maybe your telephone and tablet, computer, chargers, they won't work.
What do you think? What do you predict will happen when the power goes out?
Great predicting, Science Alliance. What about things outside your house? What will we need to keep in mind?
Trees might be down and branches might be everywhere. If the power's out, then it could affect our safety if the stop lights are out. Power lines could fall down.
Stop signs might be knocked over, and so cars might hit each other.
That's true. Good work anticipating and thinking ahead. Now that we know what might happen during a storm, we can prepare by making an emergency kit. From these items that we have in front of us, we're going to choose what's essential and what's not essential during a storm. And we'll put what's essential in the emergency kit.
By thinking ahead or anticipating what might happen after bad weather, you can make an emergency kit that will help you stay clean, comfortable, fed, and healthy. There should be enough supplies to last you at least 3 days.
Canned food, essential or non-essential?
Essential.
Essential, good.
Definitely essential if we're having that canned food. Essential.
Yes.
This will go bad.
What do you think we don't need? These are non-essential.
We might not have clean water to wash these with as well.
That's true. Why is that non-essential?
It needs to be charged with a charger, and it probably won't keep you alive.
What do you think we would need the whistle for?
Well, if you're like stuck under something, you could blow the whistle so somebody could hear you.
Very good point. What about a sleeping bag?
Why would you need a sleeping bag in a power out? Because you could just open your door to your room.
You might not be able to get to your bed. I think you would need this sleeping bag because if you can't get to your room, then you won't have anywhere to sleep.
What do you think? Why are these items important during an emergency? Is there anything else you would add to the kit? Nice work, Science Alliance. Let's record what we know in our Science Alliance lab notebooks. We know that Hurricane Bernardo is predicted to hit Aunt Jenna and Uncle Julius's neighborhood. We also know that in bad weather, the power sometimes goes out. We learned that by thinking ahead, you can prepare for emergencies by making an emergency kit. Okay, Science Alliance, what do you think? How prepared are you for a weather emergency? Wow, that's great thinking ahead. Remember, it is never too early to gather supplies for an emergency kit. Wonder what you'll discover as you investigate being prepared for dangerous weather.
When you're under a tornado warning or you hear a tornado siren, and especially if you can see that tornado, now is not the time to grab that smartphone and start filming. Instead, it's time to get inside and seek shelter. You run inside to seek shelter from the storm and come up to your bedroom, which normally is pretty safe, until of course a tree crashes through your roof. Coming down to a lower level, great idea. Trying to see where the storm is outside those windows, bad idea. It was a good idea to leave the windows, but this exterior wall doesn't help you as much as you might think. No, tree limbs or 2x4s, they're like toothpicks when winds get as fierce as in these storms. Yes, your garage is on ground level and has 4 sides. No, it isn't going to protect you the way you want it to. So this is where you do want to be. Not only a low level, but the lowest level you've got. And you want to put as many walls between you and the storm as possible. And then you stay here until it's safe. Because this room could be the one thing that saves your life.
This is serious stuff, for sure.
Absolutely.
So how can we be prepared? Because that's what we talked about at the top of the segment. We want the students out there to know that they can be safe, they can plan ahead.
Absolutely. And knowing where that safest room is in your house is absolutely key. My house, I don't have a basement. So there is no going below ground, but I can put as many walls between me and the outside as possible. I get away from the windows, I get away from those walls, I go into a closet, and I hunker down until it's time to come out.
Now I'm seeing some materials on the table. Talk me through what are these and why would I want these materials?
So specifically for a tornado, in whatever your safest room is, whether it's a basement room, a closet, there's certain things you want to have because tornadoes are strong and they can do some damage and you need to have a way out. And when you're leaving, having shoes on is really, really important. You might not have a lot of light. So
visibility, sure, flashlight.
Flashlight, batteries for that flashlight, also key. And this is one that nobody thinks about. You do not want to have hail or debris hitting you in the head. So the bike helmet,
it's a good
leaving
idea.
the bike helmet in that safest room, perfect idea for a tornado.
I like it.
Yeah.
So one thing that comes to mind for me at least is in this day of technology, there might be the ability to be informed because I would want to know when can I come out? And that's a question that we got a whole lot ahead of the program. How do I know when it's actually safe to leave that room?
So one of the things you might want to have in your safest room is your mobile device because even if there's no power, if that's charged, you've got a little juice, Twitter, the Weather Channel app, they can tell you when it's safer to come out. And also, they have radios like this one. You don't see a lot of radios anymore, right? People don't use them. It's on their phone, but they have them. This is a weather radio. It's actually made to only get information about the weather. You can buy one of these. They're not that expensive. It holds your battery charge for a long time. In fact, this one from the American Red Cross has a crank on it, so you can power your radio even when there's no power.
I like it.
Yep, and that way you'll know when to come out of the room.
Let's review what you learned today. Your goal today was to be able to explain a weather report, but learning about the jobs and tools that are needed to predict the weather. Well, you learned about the job of the meteorologist and what they do to help predict the weather. You also learned about the tools they use to help predict the weather. And we learned why it's important that we predict the weather. Sometimes weather can be dangerous, and we need to pay attention to the weather so we can stay safe. Watch a weather report this week. Learn more about what meteorologists do. Have a good week.